Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beyond BMR. I am your host, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. How is everybody doing this evening? Joining me in Studio B, the lovely KRISTA from Missouri. Beyond BMR goes beyond the mysteries of the world. We take you on a deep dive into all the rabbit holes, all the different realms, all the different realities, from Bigfoot to Dogman, UFOs to aliens, time travel to the paranormal. How do all these things, how does everything come together? Got a great guest tonight, Doug Hajicek from MonsterQuest, who will be joining us shortly here today. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube, as well as Texas Front Porch on YouTube. If you like our content, enjoy what we do, the Super Chat is open. Yes, the Super Chat is a great way to help support what we all do around here, I should say. Thank you so much for that. Also, really quickly here, I'm going to bring up what we're going to be doing here in the summertime. Once I find the stupid thing, you know me, got to fiddle around to pull up these pictures. Here we go. We got the June 7th and 8th, right? June 7th and 8th, 2024, the Alabama Bigfoot Conference, hosted by Tex Wesson. Speaker lineup is Tex, Barton Nunnally, Daryl Denton, the Blondes and the Booze, Jason McLean, Greg Ogles, Martin Groves, yours truly, BMR. I'll be there. Tickets $30 online, $35 at the door. So hopefully you can square away some of your money. I know we just finished up with Christmas, but keep that in the back of your minds. Thank you so much for that moving forward. Also, everybody, I want to thank everybody who's bought my book, Bigfoot Michigan Rob Presents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1. I appreciate everyone that bought it over the holidays and prior. When Amazon comes calling, please leave a review. It does help with the analytics. It is greatly appreciated. Also, throughout the week, Texas Front Porch, Text 7 Central, 8 o'clock in the East on Mondays. Tuesdays is Beyond BMR. I come on Tuesday with the lovely KRISTA, 8 Central, 9 in the East. Wednesdays is the Diva Dimension on Texas Front Porch, 9 Central, 10 in the East. Thursdays is Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob, and that's 12 Central, 1 in the East Thursdays. If the Blondes, the Booze, the Paranormal Podcast is on Thursday nights, you can see them on their channel, 8 Central, 9 in the East. And if you need a little more woo with the booze, they come on Friday, 8 Central, 9 in the East. Text Infamous Minds, new time. Don't know when it is. Saturday nights, I think it is. I'll have to get back with you on that. But if you're into true crime, Texas Front, if you put on the alert bell, you'll get it, right? I'll have to get that squared away with Tex. With that being said, I'm going to bring up the lovely KRISTA.
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
Not a whole lot. I think Texas show, I want to say it's like Sunday or something, isn't it? Sunday night later.
Oh, I think it might be Sunday. I think Sunday 6 o'clock might ring a bell now.
Something. Brandy and Randy have their show at 5. And then Tex, I want to say is like 9 or something, I thought, on Sunday. Maybe. I don't know. I'd have to read back on all of her text. Yeah, you'd probably have to. You know, we over because we have a lot of things going on. We've got Tex. He moved that time. He moved the time with Infamous Minds. Yeah. He also, I think, is doing something different on Mondays, switching that time again. 8 o'clock. He's going back to 8 o'clock because of his work schedule, I believe.
Yeah, and then we've got Randy and Brandy are doing something now, right, on a channel.
Yep. I don't remember what it's called, though.
Yeah, I don't either. I kind of just, my alert bell went off. I'm like, Randy and Brandy. So I knew they had something in the works, but they never told anybody when they were going on.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's going to be another show added on Texas Front Porch. So
busy lineup.
Yeah, I'm going to have to. I got to tell you what, though. I'm not rewriting this again. I just finally got it memorized.
Right? I hear you.
I'm just going to break it down to the Blondes and the Booze, Thursdays and Fridays.
There you go.
8 Central, BMR Tuesday and Thursdays.
But then again, I have different times. But you know, it's a good problem to have.
It is. It is.
You know, because you know, we're all growing, and you know, we got a great audience to give information to, and have these great shows.
Yeah, I do 4 shows a week now. Brandy now, she does that other one. She's up to 5 a week.
Yeah, you know, well, I got what do I got? I got just my 2 a week right now, and I've been on your guys whenever you need a, you know, you have me drop by and so on and so forth, and so I love it. I stay busy. Then on Saturdays I put out, you know, a video about cryptids, and so that's cool. We all stay busy.
Oh yeah, we do.
We do.
It's seriously, it's another full-time job. It really is.
It's a full-time job. You know, you just don't sit here. You got it's
right? It's work.
It consumes my day. I don't call it work because I love doing this, but it is quote unquote work, right?
Absolutely.
But I do, and that's why I do appreciate everybody, because our chat, our audience, they do appreciate what we do.
Oh yeah.
I've been in some other chat rooms. I got to tell you, they don't have the chat people we got. Very unappreciative.
We have the best.
Yes. So I love each and every single one of you out there. Thank you all for coming on in. And we do appreciate, without you guys, we wouldn't be doing this, right?
That's right.
So
we'd be sitting around talking to ourselves.
Yeah. You know, I'm really excited about this show. Doug Hajicek's in.
Yeah, I'm excited too. It's going to be fun.
He's sitting backstage, you know, MonsterQuest. That's actually, I really enjoyed that show, right? Growing up and watching it. And I've seen them all ad nauseum. And I'm not going to say this just because Doug is the producer, but it's because it is the one that I really get the most out of, that I really do thoroughly enjoy.
Oh, yeah. And it's still on. You can still find old episodes.
You can find it. You can find it.
Yeah.
The first one I came across, which I did like, was Leonard Nimoy, which is kind of a coincidence, right? Leonard Nimoy with In Search of.
Yeah. In Search of.
You know.
Yep.
I always liked that show
one
too. As a kid, real young. I barely remember I only remember like 3 or 4 episodes, and one of course was Patty.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, with that being said,
also another good one I watched was Sightings. Do you remember that one?
I think yes, I do recall that one. I did like that one. That wasn't not that long, was it? How many years was that on?
Just a few years, I believe.
Yeah. But
some good ones.
Yeah, you know, they're all good. Some of these today, I just take them for entertainment value most of the time. You know
what they are.
Yeah, that's kind of what we do here. I don't know if Doug's ready. I see his screen is up. I'm just gonna pull him up so when he's ready to come on, he can. And there he is.
Hello, Rob. Hi, KRISTA.
Hello, Doug.
Glad to have you.
You know, I gotta tell you, Doug, thanks for coming on. And I know you really don't know me at all, but you know that I'm like, not yet. But when I get on the phone, I'm like, oh no, this guy, where's Doug? I got a minute before. I'm pretty anal about that. Even though you confirmed yesterday, but I'm still, until the show starts, then I relax.
Every podcast I do, I set 3 alarms. 3.
Wow.
I might forget between alarm 1 and alarm 2, but generally alarm 3, I'm on it.
There you go.
So
that's actually a great idea. Are you in Central Time, Eastern Time Zone?
Yeah, I'm up in Minnesota. If you've ever gotten up here.
Okay.
I've yet to have the pleasure, but
well, if you do come ever, do not come now.
It's
just brutal.
Yeah. It's not much better in Missouri today either, so let me tell you.
Yeah, we've had some bad weather. I was just talking to somebody out east, and they said they had 16 inches of snow, and now it's raining on top of the snow. Oh, yuck.
Yeah, you know, we got the same thing here. It's right now 41 degrees, light rain. It's been raining since I woke up this morning about 6:30, and it's going to continue to rain till tomorrow. Still going to be in the 40s. Then by the weekend, we're going down to 27 and snow. So all the water will be frozen on top of the snow, which is just fabulous for driving, you know.
Yep.
And I'm psychic, Rob. Let's see. You live in Michigan, right?
Yes, correct. Yes, very good.
Yeah.
I knew we got a great guy. I knew there was a reason why.
Yeah, that's why you got me.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, man.
I have to tell you that I found something very interesting. I was kind of reading up a little bit about you, right? We all know you from MonsterQuest and a variety of other productions that you've put together throughout the years. Yeah. But I got to tell you something. I like to start the show off with which really intrigued me, which I did not know about you, was you invented the camera, the film, the 54-foot giant squid.
Correct.
That's accurate, correct?
Yes.
That had, first of all, yeah, I mean, before we get into that story, if you want to give a brief bio to anybody else that maybe don't know about MonsterQuest, I doubt that there aren't anybody, but
sure.
I'm
happy to give people a background if they're not familiar, which I doubt anybody is. I started out as just wildlife researcher. Mm-hmm. And then I got interested in hey, I got to start capturing this, animal behavior. So I started filming the wildlife.
Yeah.
And I got good at that. And then I'm like, oh, gee, it'd be kind of nice to share this with the world. And then I started an outdoor show with a writer from the Minneapolis Star and Tribune. And that show, by the way, is still on the air. His daughter is now taken over as host. He's retired. So I'm still really proud of my first show. And then I went on to work for Animal Planet, Discovery Channel, and started pitching them, things they could finance. Like, hey, I want to put a camera in a bear den to film the first wild black bear birth. Mm-hmm. They usually would back me up. So I had the first wildlife cam on the internet ever.
Wow.
So I invented that too.
Very cool.
Not thinking about it. It's just because I wanted to do it and I wanted to share it. But man, what a production back in those days, back in the, it was in the 90s. To get some wildlife cam in the middle of nowhere on the internet. That was quite an undertaking. So I would fly in all these technicians and people and stringing cable through the forests. And it was just nuts. It's actually still not really that improved. Mm-hmm. I get asked that all the time, how do I get streaming, full 24-hour streaming to my home from a wildlife cam in the middle of nowhere? And I've done it. I've done it in the 90s and certainly can be done now. But I will say we're just starting now to play with Starlink. Mm-hmm. And it's not as easy as it might sound. It can be kind of difficult. We haven't had a ton of luck yet, but we're going to be bringing Starlink up to Snellgrove in August, which will be really cool. Try to do live. We're going to be live up there.
Wow.
This cabin may be getting attacked because it got attacked 2 days in a row last summer. So, but that's kind of my background. I like to invent things. I'm constantly making things. I would not want to tell you how many products I've invented that are on the market right now. Bunch of little stuff, it's tons of little stuff, thousands of little things. But, they do add to a little bit of income for me so I can do what I want to do, which is Bigfoot research.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is awesome. The little things, they all add up, don't they? So you weren't the creator of the flugel binder, were you?
The what?
The flugel binder.
No.
The little piece of plastic that goes over the front of the tennis shoe to keep it from fraying.
No, that's awesome.
I wonder who invented that.
I want two of those.
I
want to. But I've done things like a number of medical products that I have on the market, which were great when they got HMO approved. Mm-hmm. So I've been doing that for 24 years now. Some toys, believe it or not, I've invented a few toys. Some holographic things, a lot of motorcycle things, automotive things. I won Best New Product of the Year a few years ago with a high temperature blackout nut and bolt cap for engine bays.
Oh, wow.
To give you an example, I'm just very diversified because I work a lot and I just get weird ideas. So I start sketching and I sketch what I do and I write everything up, like everything. And I hand it to an engineer. They draw it up on a CAD system and it ends up going in the pipe usually if it's a good idea and everybody agrees it's a good idea, and then we end up, finding a distributor for it. So that's kind of my thing. Love doing it.
Well, that's fantastic, and I never would have thought of that. Not
Me
that, I'm just thinking. What I'm thinking, the woods, Bigfoot, cryptids,
Yeah.
and so that's a nice little tidbit.
Yeah, and then in the 90s, one of the things that really nobody knows about, in the 90s, I became a licensed private investigator.
Mm-hmm.
So
Very
I did
cool.
that full time for a number of years too.
You're a busy guy.
Yeah, just to hone my investigation skills, and ended up being good at it. I was good at it. Of course, I tried to advance the PI industry through technology, and that was kind of great. And I eventually got bored with that because technology can only kind of go so far. Once you invent a car tracking device, well, there's never going to be anything better than a car tracking device.
Right.
So you're kind of done,
Right.
And it got old after a while, doing surveillance and hot vans and those kinds of things. And I just finally just said, "Man, I'm done." So.
Well, being an investigator, it probably enhanced your skills when it came to the Bigfoot, right? Perhaps
I think it did. I think it did. I was the head of surveillance for a very big PI firm, and I was doing surveillance sometimes from 2 miles away on people.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps. Yeah, knowing those kinds of things, having that kind of equipment, being able to film somebody through a window on a high-rise condominium from 2 miles away. And that can be transferred right to wildlife photography, which is where I've got honed to my skills to begin with. So then transfer those to the PI world, and then now back again. So,
yeah, I do want to get into the cryptids a little bit with you today, but I'm still fascinated about this 54-foot giant squid.
Yeah, let's talk.
Let's just get started out with that, because to me, to see that, I don't know. Now you're going to have to tell the story. For me, if I were to see that on the ocean and saw it on a camera on a boat, I think it would literally terrify me.
Well, there's a new show that was done, I think, in 2020 again. So I did 2 shows on giant squid, actually 3, because I did one for what they call an exploratory tape for Discovery Channel years ago, which is where I really went to the Sea of Cortez for the first time from Discovery Channel. We were just filming a lot of Humboldt squid. We were pitching a show called Rojo Diablo down in the Sea of Cortez. And that's where I had my first experience. I had basically kind of smuggled a 1,000-foot camera. I could go down 1,000 foot. And I made you know what Mylar is, like Mylar balloons.
Yes.
Well, I bought Mylar sheeting and made these giant tentacles out of Mylar. And then I taped them to this camera. And my goal was to weight it and then throw it down if I ever got a chance to, while I was down filming a smaller Humboldt squid. Just see what would happen. Because I suspected that there were giant Humboldts even down below that had gotten out of their niche that didn't breed. There's very little we know about cephalopods. We just don't know anything about them, especially the breeding. And so I had a theory then that big squid of different species, including Arthitusis ducks, which is the true giant squid, Humboldt squid, and other types of squid, if a female doesn't breed, she gets out of her niche and she lives way beyond the normal 2-year, 3-year, 1-year life cycle. Okay, she may live 50 years because they grow and they stay deep in the ice cold water, and they don't migrate up the water column. So they just stay deep and they become cannibals. And there they breed and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think that's going to be proven completely true by science and science papers at some point, maybe not in my life. But I believe they get out of their niche, including octopuses. I believe even an octopus that generally can only live a few years could live 100 years. if they don't breed. And they just get out of their niche and survive that transition from breeding to not breeding. And so the whole idea with the giant squid is instead of like me going through a lot of it, if you go to the History Vault, you can see a show called Predators of the Deep. And in that show, they covered the entire thing that we accomplished, including scientists confirming it was the first true giant squid that had ever been filmed in the wild. So it was kind of cool. So I'm like, hey, if we can do that with squid, we can probably do it with Bigfoot. And here's the key, guys. Filming Bigfoot is going to be a multi-step process. Okay? The more steps, the better chance you're going to have of getting a Bigfoot on film. And people are not doing enough steps. What do I mean by steps? For instance, on the giant squid, we had to build a pseudomorph to catch a squid big enough to carry a camera load. We had to design a camera that could then be attached to a big squid that would then carry the payload down to a true giant. So that's multi-steps. And then you got to have a lot of luck behind you during those multi-steps. And that's what causes the delay. It's you need the perfect storm, the perfect luck. It's like playing a slot machine. You know, you have a 250,000 chance of hitting a progressive, for instance. You know, and it's like that with Bigfoot. So people cannot give up and then make excuses up of why we don't have footage. Bob Gimlin and Roger Patterson got beautiful footage. Bob he told me himself, Doug, I just thought we could go out the next day and just get more. The week after and just get more. Yeah, right. A month later, get more. Be real easy. Well, it was because they had the perfect storm. But on the other hand, if you think about that footage, they did a multiple step technique. Step one, they knew of a fresh spot where tracks had just been found. Step two, they had horses. They made a big effort to bring these small ponies to fit in whatever trailer they could get them in and get down there. And step three, they focused on travelways like creeks, rivers, streams. So they were doing that right. And then they got lucky at a big log pile where there was a lot of noise. Step four, there was noise there to cover up their sound. And, you know, and Roger had practiced over and over pulling that film camera out of his saddlebag. And even then, it kind of went wrong because a horse blew up on him, you know. Right. And got all upset. And so, but what I'm trying to, maybe I'm not saying this right, but you got to do a lot of steps and a lot of steps right. And then a lot of things have to work out also for you. But if you don't do all of these steps and really start thinking, okay, what am I doing wrong? Oh, maybe I should be focused on these travel routes, these power line cuts, or this creek where the creek and the power line cut intersect. That's even better. Because now I got a double chance of having an animal utilize that double travel way. And so that's kind of what I mean. Really thinking it through, looking at the Google Maps, thinking really hard about how you're trying to get a photo. Maybe try to hide that thing so no human can even see it. Like it's like you could literally take the smartest hunter and say, okay, my camera's somewhere between here and here, find it. And when they can't find it, now you're onto something. So do all those things right. And now if everybody did that, we would exponentially increase our odds of getting another Patterson-Gimlin footage. Exponentially. If more people all did those things. So multi-steps, good luck, hard work.
Even if you couldn't find the camera, you probably got to come up with a camera where, considering these creatures or whatever you want to call them, Bigfoot, probably have a keen sense of smell and probably can pick up on, you know, human scent or even plastic.
I don't think they depend. I'm thinking hearing, eyesight. Probably not sense of smell as much. I would imagine it's more advanced than us. Yes.
Right.
Yes, Rob. For sure. Absolutely agreed. Probably, I'm going to guess double, triple maybe.
Yeah.
Better than us, but that's not that. It's not like a bloodhound. It's 1,000 times better.
Sure.
I don't think they have that because they don't have the face, like a bloodhound's got a long snout or a bear. And that's how they have all those olfactory glands that they can smell really good.
Yeah.
Bigfoot's got a flat face like us, so they're not going to have enough, olfactory gland. They don't have the room for it.
Right.
So I think double, triple, but I think their eyes are far more primitive, which makes them more advanced. For instance, I believe they probably don't have the UV filter we do. So early animals didn't have that. That's something we evolved with, but it's hurt us in hunting. For instance, you or I, if you went out to the tundra, you wouldn't be able to see which lichens had the most protein with your vision.
Wow.
But a caribou can.
Really?
Caribou can just look at the lichen and see which ones to eat because it knows which ones have the high protein content. Bears can do that. Flying squirrels. There's a number of animals that can see in UV vision. Plus, some of those animals have the tapetum lucidium, the mirror in the back. I don't think Bigfoots have that. I think they're using some type of protein cell in their eye that puts out light. They have found a few cells in human eyes that still we're the only primate that put out light out of our eyes. Did you know that?
I did not.
Wow.
We are the only primate. Think about that. And I think we're very related to these creatures. But isn't that interesting? They are now photographing light being emitted from human eyes.
Wow.
But we've lost our ability. We've lost it through evolution. We've gotten too advanced. So I think Bigfoot's eyes are very primitive, but more advanced for living in the forest. That makes sense.
Right.
So there's my spiel.
Well, I have a question. Just
Like KRISTA.
you were talking about like getting like the pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
And I noticed somebody in chat made a comment about even if someone captures the best footage and it's legit, however, people are going to say, "Oh, it was AI." What are your feelings on that?
There's no way I will ever be able to be fooled by AI, ever, not in my lifetime. So that's what I'd say.
Gotcha.
Maybe a certain person might get sucked into it, but if you're trained and know what to look for, no, there's no way it could pass scrutiny ever. No.
Okay.
And two, since we're talking about filming and photographs, and this is just your basic question you've probably been asked a million times. I've asked it a million times. I've been asked it a million times. I always get the blob squatch picture, right?
Yeah.
Now you mentioned the steps and what you said.
Those aren't even squatches. That's the problem. They're not even squatches. So the blob squatch pictures are stumps, and branches. That's all they are. They're not Bigfoots. It's just something that looks like it is. I've got, I always tell people in my shower, there's all these patterns, and I can find like a ton of Bigfoots. Faces.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what we're dealing with. Those are not. There's no such thing as a blob squatch. Every blob squatch is a tree trunk or a branch. What we need is National Geographic quality. We need video that's moving where its legs, its arms, and you can see, musculature flexing, contracting, expanding. You need to see the proper hair movements, which like AI and animation, they have gravity markers on every hair. They don't behave naturally. AI is 30 years away from being able to fool a human, probably 30 years from now. It may in 30 or 40 years, even then you'll be able to debunk it. AI compared to a real animal.
Yeah.
Just like when you guys watch a movie, when you watch a Disney movie or, some Land of the Lost movie or something, when they're animating that tiger or that saber-toothed tiger, it looks fakey as hell. Well, they're spending millions on those creatures.
Yeah.
They can't even come close. I mean, if you just kind of sit back and blur your eyes, you're fine with the story. But we all know it's fake. But when you see a real tiger, you know it's a real tiger.
Right.
So would it be fair to assume that with that statement, which I get that, I respect that, would it be fair to say that you don't believe in the concept of cloaking, catching one while it's cloaking, or
don't know,
manifesting its energy?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all that stuff I'm open to. Just open to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's not much I can do about it. If something can cloak, I'm pretty well what they call pre-screwed.
Right.
You know, you're kind of pre-effed. But I'm open to anything because we live in the craziest world ever.
Sure do.
Like, we really do. I think if most people knew how crazy our world is, how complex it is when you get into dimensions and subatomic particles, and I think most people would go insane if they really knew what's going on in the world. Like, you know, they're pretty much proven right next to you guys there's a whole nother bunch of worlds.
Sure.
And if we could see all the things going on, we'd probably go insane.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think many people could handle it. Like they claim it's almost like a DMT trip. Reality is, and maybe people who do DMT are actually seeing the reality of what's really going on. That's a possibility too. I'm kind of open to anything. That's why I kind of like my position, because I'm sincere in it. I'm open-minded. I never feel any malice towards anybody, any researchers that have a theory, or if they want to believe it 100%, they even want to push. I don't have a problem with that, because, you know, thinking out of the box is kind of what we need. And maybe that's just kind of what humanity needs to do to advance. You know, we all need to just share our own ideas, our own theories. But we need to respect each other. That's what can be missing. I don't like trolls and people who disrespect people. Right. Just respect people. That's all you got to do. Ask questions of them. If you don't agree with them, ask them questions. Right. Converse with them. You know, we all have a lot in common. We all agree that these things are real, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there you go. There's our common interest.
There you go.
I find it great. It's often boring when you talk to somebody that believes the exact same thing as you do, right? Yeah. I mean, you don't learn unless you have the conversations about I believe in this because of, well, I disagree because of, and just have these conversations, which a lot of people don't like to do. Right. You know, a lot of people walk around, especially I find in this field, Doug, with blinders on. They refuse to believe anything other than what they might have seen 30 years ago, right? Yeah. And they stick with that. Yeah. Or they stick with, I saw Bigfoot disappear in front of me. They stick with that. You know, a lot of the First Nations and elders, they will tell you differently. Some believe it's a spiritual creature. Yep. Some will tell you it's the protective mammal or protector of the forest. Yep. So, and I'm not going to argue either one's point, because I believe they're both valid.
They are. Yeah, they absolutely are, because we don't know. Right. We don't know. Right. Like, you know, like now the, you know, the UFO mystery is slowly kind of coming to more reality, because there's a little more disclosure on what governments have been doing. And there'll be more and more and more. Once you take the cork out, it's kind of hard to get it back in. And so that's should really give people pause, that a lot more is possible. The skeptics should be a little more open-minded. We don't know what these things are. For all we know, they're, you know, they're our keepers. That's just as likely as any other theory. They could be primitive type, some other human race. They could be advanced, some other human race. They could be this, they could be that. Yeah, we don't know. For all that we know, they're all wearing Apple Watches under their, you know, we just don't know anything. But I do know, though, what we do know is, like humans, they do eat. I think we're all pretty in agreement on they eat. Yep. They need to eat. They seem to like water. They need water. They travel near water. Seldom ever seen not from water. They like forests, obviously.
Mhm.
They like hills. They don't have any problem with hills and mountains.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, they like rainfall, and that's about all we know.
Yeah.
Power lines, of course, railroad tracks.
Yeah, we know of course, because that's where they're saying. We know they utilize power
we
line
know that.
cuts, trails, roadways, roadsides, ditches, blah, 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 farm edges.
It was
That's
just
where the food is.
Yeah, and it was funny. I was telling a story. This is maybe last year, I guess. And I said, yeah, there was an actual Bigfoot sighting, or in Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah.
And the guy is telling me Detroit, Michigan. I'm like, yeah, I don't believe it. First of all, I believe they could be anywhere. All the things you just laid out, that's where they come from, right? I said, yeah, take a look at it. This section, yes, it was in the Detroit. It was downtown Detroit. There was a lot of industry there. But it's right on the Detroit River, and surrounding it is an island, which is connected to an island chain that gets off into the forest. So, yeah, absolutely. They could have very easily been in Detroit.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, people kind of need to start thinking that way. I've been lucky enough to get dropped off into the true wilderness, away from man-made edges. Not many people have ever had that experience. I've had that experience numerous times. And I can tell you, you will not see any wildlife. You will see none. I get more wildlife in my backyard than if I got dropped off in the middle of the Canadian boreal forest where there's no roads. I won't see anything. I probably won't see a squirrel, a little chicken. I won't see anything. Just be dead quiet. People don't realize that. I've gone on trips like that where I've only maybe seen one bird over a 10-day period.
Wow.
Where I could take a bike ride in my suburban neighborhood and see a herd of deer, a flock of wild turkeys, 3 fox, a coyote, grouse, pheasants. Do you want me to go on?
Sure.
It's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a herd of deer to top it off.
Wow.
Why? But go in the wilderness, you're going to see anything. People need to get that through their head that animals like the path of least resistance because they're not stupid. Why would they use up a bunch of calories tripping over logs when they can walk on a tarred trail?
True.
That is so funny you bring that up because just this past Thanksgiving, the week prior to Thanksgiving, I was driving with my brother. We're on the freeway running through town, right? And he had just got back for a hunting trip. Says, man, it was the worst trips he had because he didn't see but one deer. And he spent 2.5, 3 days there. Says, man, Rob, nothing. So, and we're talking about this. So he was all giving me his tale of woes. And as we're driving down the freeway, on either side of us is the woods. Now, it's just a wood line. It's no more than 30 yards deep on either side, and it leads to the metro airport. And lo and behold, in a small little meadow, what do we see? About 8 deer, 3 12-point bucks right from the freeway.
Yep.
And he, right 5 minutes from my house.
Yeah. But, it's just people. I meet people every day, researchers on the phone. I talk to tons of people. So many of them tell me about how they travel far into the wilderness. That's their goal. And I'm like, you might want to save that energy. You're going to have a better chance just going maybe a block into the wilderness.
Yeah.
Go 500 feet into the wilderness.
Right.
You're going to have a better chance there of intersecting with a Bigfoot because that's where the game is. That's where the deer are. That's where the grouse, the turkeys. I mean, oh my God. And the other thing that's weird nowadays, I grew up, guys, and I never saw any wildlife because we had killed, shot, poisoned, everything. I grew up in the 60s. We never saw anything. We saw birds, but not even that many birds. I never saw cardinal, for instance, when I was a child. I lived in the woods, man. I camped out all summer, every summer. Never once wanted to even go in the house. I was definitely I was the kid out there building a fire every night, sleeping out under the stars. And I just loved the forest, loved being outside, hated being inside a house. And we never saw any wildlife. Ever. Like nothing. I remember one time I saw a bobcat sunning on a rock once. That was the biggest thrill of my life.
Wow.
To see a bobcat, but generally nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays, oh my God, the eagles are everywhere, hawks are everywhere, falcons are everywhere, owls. I mean, I see these things every single day. Turkeys, wild turkeys. I remember in the 80s, we'd go to South Dakota. The one place there were a few wild turkeys in like the Black Hills of South Dakota area. And we'd go out there hunting because that's the only place they lived. Now they're everywhere.
Right.
Wild Canadian geese, ducks of all types of breeds now I see. I never saw anything but mallards when I was a kid, and even very few of those. Canadian geese back then were extinct.
Wow.
People don't think about that.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that rediscovered them discovered a little flock up in Canada and reintroduced them to the world.
Wow.
But now they're like what we call them rats with wings. There's so
Yeah,
many.
they're all over.
They're everywhere, and they're pooping on our lawns.
Yeah.
But in other words, what I'm trying to say is the animals have done a really amazing job adapting. They don't need that much help. We have cougars now. I have bears in my backyard. Literally, I have tracks on my beach. Bear sightings are happening all around me now. Cougar sightings are happening all around me. I mean, I've got lions outside my door. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so that means the Bigfoot's come back too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it literally almost means it. I'm not positive, I'm saying in quote marks, but I believe their populations have increased. Anybody who thinks they haven't is, I think, not looking at the facts, at wildlife in general. We have 40,000 black bears in Minnesota.
Wow.
At one point, we had maybe 1,000.
Yeah.
500.
Oh, I mean, we've got
before they
here in
were
the state of
managed.
Michigan, even deer in my state, a billion.
Oh,
Come
you've
on.
got tons of them in Michigan.
Yeah.
A billion, and my brother can't find one in 3 days, but we see one on the freeway.
New Jersey, places like that in the suburbs are overrun with black bears.
Yeah.
And we all need to just learn how to get along with the animals. We need to, just basically ignore them, because we can't just keep shooting them.
Right.
That isn't even going to help, actually. The more you shoot coyotes, for instance, the more they'll come back. Now we have wild boars that are spreading all over the U.S. You're going to have them soon, if you don't already, in Michigan, Rob.
We have them in Missouri.
The super pigs are coming down from Canada.
Yeah, great.
And they're going to infect Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota the first. And they're saying these things are unstoppable.
And I got to tell you about being out in the forest. That's about the only thing that I really would be scared of here where I live, would be that boar, wild pig coming down.
Yeah.
They don't play games. They don't play games.
No, and these are supposed to be really, really aggressive and hard, like impossible to control. But they provide a food source for our friend. So this is what I mean. There's so many more food sources now. And food source generally is what determines the population and management, so we don't overhunt them. But those kinds of things. So we don't hunt Bigfoot, so that's eliminated. They have so many food sources. So I'm gonna suspect, since the 60s, since the Patterson-Gimlin film was taken, that the Bigfoot population has probably grown exponentially along with turkeys.
Wow.
And that's scary or eye-opening to think about. So
Wow.
take the population of any animal, bears, go ahead and look it up, what it was in 1967. Check turkeys, take a bunch, average them all out, how the populations increased, what percentage, and now apply that to the Bigfoot. And that's how much I think their population has grown.
Wow.
think. I'm not sure, but
Right.
I understand.
Food for thought, for sure.
Yeah. So that should give everybody hope if they're a researcher. It's a good time to be a researcher.
And you're not even mentioning through all this the billions of acres that have not been even explored by man in the wilderness.
Yeah, no, there is. But I don't think there's any Bigfoots there.
You don't think so?
Nope. I don't think they're utilized because there's no food.
Mm.
They can move into an area near a city. You can eat 10 times more. What are you gonna pick, Rob? Where are you gonna live?
Well, I'm eating fat. Are you
gonna live by the grocery store?
Oh yeah, I'll
Right.
live by the grocery store.
Are you gonna move out into the middle of nowhere and have to walk to the grocery store 50 miles every day?
Whenever I look to move, I look for a Texas Roadhouse. Has to be within a block. No.
See, if you start really paying attention to where people are having encounters, they're not too far from roads and people.
Yeah.
So people have said, yeah, there is millions of miles of unexplored wilderness, but there's not many animals in there. It's great to have that wilderness, and we need it for oxygen and cleaning the water and the water table. There's a lot of things those wildernesses do, but one of them, they're not all that productive for wildlife. They're just not.
Wow.
I want to go back just a little bit on something you were saying a little bit earlier when it comes to like Bigfoot research. I've talked to people with 1 year experience, 20 years. Some have seen a Bigfoot or not, and we're talking about where to find these things. And it sounds like, and you had made mention, why go 30 miles into the wilderness when you can go 30 feet off trail? In other words, then, in your opinion, it'd be more like it's despite your research experience and efforts, a lot of it's just based on luck.
Well, some of it, yeah, you have to do a lot of things correct, and then you've got to also have the luck. For instance, we were up at Snowgrove, great example. We're up at Snowgrove. We have got activity like crazy. Like they're taking, sticks and going boom, 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 boom along the roof up from outside. And you can remember up at Snell, there ain't no roads up there. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the areas that, and yet they still use, I guarantee they use those winter roads for traveling. Snellgrove Cabin is a man-made edge. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's the only man-made edge. Plus, at the end of every 3-4 day fishing trip, fishermen that come up there throw out all their perishables up behind the cabin. So there's that thing going on every 3 or 4 days, every 3 or 4 during the summer. I think that's one reason they're there. But we had a lot of activity, and we had cameras out that were very low light, but there was cloud cover so thick and no moon. Otherwise, I guarantee we would have got footage of something. I don't know what, but we would have came back with footage. Instead, we came back with tons of audio. Tons, hours of crazy audio. But but this year that we're going up, the moon is going to be out. So all we need is the luck of the good weather. So we don't have the cloud cover, and we have the technology to get National Geographic quality images in pitch darkness, not using thermal cams.
Wow.
So that's. When we have the surveillance spots, for instance, I can have a camera on an island that's half a mile away and have it zoomed in on the cabin in the pitch darkness and see like it's noon. Mm-hmm. They're not going to sense that camera. It's a mile away.
Right.
So come on, people. Come on.
And they do.
Unless they are pure supernatural and they are literally a god to us. Like literally they're our keepers and they're a religious figure or something, then they're all knowing, omnipotent, and they know everything. So, I don't think that's what we're dealing with. I think we're dealing with a very, very humble, human-like creature that operates on fear, that has a lot of super abilities. And that's something we should talk about, their super abilities, because that's something that mystifies people.
Yeah.
We can get those super abilities here in about 10 seconds. I'm going to take a 10-second pause for my buddy Randy because this is a podcast form, so we have to go 10-second pause for our break. We'll keep rolling. And with that being said, I'll take a little airtime. Don't forget to subscribe. Bigfoot, Mr. Rob on YouTube, Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast, Texas Front Porch. And we'll get some information posted for Doug for anybody who'd like to get in contact with him. Don't forget, June 7th and 8th is the Alabama Bigfoot Conference taking place in Anniston, Alabama. So we got that going on. And don't forget, the Super Chat is open for those of you that care to donate. It's a great way to help support what we do. I think that covered it, Randy. And we can continue on with Doug Hajicek. Thanks for coming on, Doug. I didn't get to tell you that at the beginning of the show. I was doing the opening monologue, and then you popped on. And so thank you for coming on. People are loving it.
It's my pleasure. Hey, I love just meeting people and talking about this topic.
Yeah. So, Doug, you said that you've been dropped out in the woods, and I assume that you've been all over. And have you had a Bigfoot encounter? And if so, where at?
Yeah, I have. But they're kind of non-counters because I never got to see the face. Mm-hmm. But I know they were not a stump.
Right.
One was the road. It was we were driving south, had another witness, driving south on 169 in Minnesota by Mille Lacs Lake, just south of Mille Lacs Lake. Mm-hmm. Or I shouldn't say south, during the southern portion of Mille Lacs. And there's a state forest and a stream that comes out of the forest. And right where that stream intersects with the lake, there was what I thought was maybe a moose standing there, mad, waving its antlers. They'll do that once in a while. Mm-hmm. And it was, but then I'm thinking, it's not that time of year that they wouldn't even have any antlers. We get closer and we see, what looks like shoulders and arms and hair hanging off the bottom of the arms. It's quite long and wavy and blowing in the wind. And then we see it doing what it's doing is like a hula dance. Mm-hmm. It's got its arms outstretched and it's doing the hula. And we realize it's drying off.
Wow. Probably
had taken a swim. It was hot that day. Yeah. Taking a swim was drying off before it went back into the forest. Right.
Wow.
And so we got a good look at it. We got to see its fingers, arms. The size of it was massive. I would describe the size as to the height of an elephant. In fact, that's the way Yvette described it right away.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, it was just massive. Mm-hmm. And it was moving. So we know it wasn't just a statue or, you could see the muscles and you could see the skin under the hair because the wind was blowing quite hard. It was a hot summer night with a good wind, a good breeze. Mm-hmm. And Mille Lacs Lake is a huge lake that you can't even see across. So there's a breeze that was coming off the lake. Mm-hmm. And that's an area where there's lots of sightings. But of course, I believe it was Sunday night. And everybody's driving back from up north. We have this ritual in Minnesota. Everybody drives up north on the Friday night, and everybody drives back on Sunday. I'll bet you 100 cars saw that creature.
Wow.
There's no shoulder, so we couldn't pull over. Had a car behind us. Dangerous as hell. You got cars coming at you with headlights. It's quite a dangerous thing. So this thing didn't give a shit.
Right.
Didn't care at all. Pardon my French. It was just took a swim. It needed to dry off and go right back into that state forest.
Yeah, with that many people that saw it. Wow.
But it had its back turned to me, so I didn't get to see the face. So I call it a non-counter.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Wow. That's
but crazy. Once again, where did I see it? Oh, right by a road. Wasn't even there's wilderness around there, but the hell, there's a casino 5 miles up the road. There's cabins. There's it's not like the wilderness, but it's very much enough wilderness.
Right.
It's corridors, escape roads.
And that is so funny too, Doug, because I do feel reports, since I've been doing this for a couple of years, and people email encounter stories or sightings, which I get and I gather, and sometimes I'll have guests on, we'll talk about it, or I'll do a video or whatever.
Yeah.
But I gotta tell you, the number one report that I get from people is the Bigfoot crossing the road.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, right? It makes me even think, the way this show has been rolling, you might be better off 20 feet off a road somewhere in the woods and camp there, right?
Yeah.
You never know.
Well, look, okay, let's talk about roads.
Yeah.
What goes on near roads, especially when there's a lot of traffic? Deer kills, deer hits.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why would I want to expel calories
Right.
when a deer gets hit every 10 minutes on Freeway 94 by a semi-truck?
Mm-hmm.
They're everywhere. They're splattered. Every mile there's a deer, a fresh deer kill. Every mile. Well, guess where our other sighting was? Along that freeway.
Wow.
And it was right behind the barbed wire fence and had walked right out from behind a stick structure, and which is why I believe they're blinds. It walked right out behind this huge, massive, black, upright creature. We both saw it. Yvette saw it first. And I looked at all the dead deer along along 94. I thought, if I'm going to take up temporary residence, it's going to be right here. If I'm a Bigfoot, I like deer meat.
Hey, I never really looked at, you're bringing some things up I never really thought about. Just the basic, easy stuff, food supply. Yeah. Why would they be in 1 billion acres of forest if there's no food supply?
Exactly.
Wow, that'd be a great place to go.
You can't think about their needs. You got to think about the other animals' needs.
Right.
You take, for instance, a wilderness forest. Most of them are monochromatic. They have all black spruce. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So what the hell is a whole spruce forest going to do for attracting other wildlife? Nothing.
Right.
But it's going to be great for the earth because it's a great, it produces, gets rid of carbon dioxide, produces just trillions amounts of oxygen. Mm-hmm. So it's a very healthy ecosystem, but it's not where the Bigfoot liver or the deer livers are going to be. The deer livers are going to be on Highway 94 or Freeway 94 that runs from, Minnesota out east. That's where the Bigfoots are going to be hanging out. Yeah. Sounds stupid, but it's really weird because Levi Makovic called me up one day last summer and he goes, "Hey, Doug, do you want to join me on a little expedition in Black Lake or something, Wisconsin?" I said, "Sure." And he goes, "Yeah, I had my sighting right by the exit ramp right there." And I said, "Let me guess." I told him the exit number before he told me.
Wow.
Because that's where I had my sighting too.
Wow. And
he is like, "Oh my God." And so we did a 2-day camp out there in the last fall. And so it's just, once again, it's right by a freeway. It's within earshot. You can hear the cars zooming by out in the forest, but there's plenty of forest.
Yeah.
You know, to kind of to support all those deer herds and all those turkeys and So you need the forest. But in the suburbs, we have more diversified plants. In the edges of farm fields, too, another great area. The edges of agriculture, vineyards. My God, if I had a nickel for every vineyard Bigfoot story I've heard near a vineyard where they're growing grapes or an apple orchard, I mean, it's insane. And most of the people that talk to me go, they always go, "Do bears walk upright?" And I go, "Well, they can." "Well, how far did you see it walking?" "Oh, all the way down the railroad tracks."
Right.
"Where did it come out of?" "Let me guess, an orchard." "How'd you know?" So we're an orchard intersect with a railroad track.
Yep.
Because he had told me the area, and I said, I already knew exactly what the situation. And those things will come up over and over and over. So they turned me into that psychic, Bob, when I guessed you were from Michigan.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So, Rob, I knew you were from Michigan because I'm psychic.
Yeah, you were. And I said, I knew this was going to be a fantastic show.
Oh,
He already knows.
Oh, I'll tell you a really cool story. This is
go
really
right ahead.
cool. Okay. So I'm not going to mention his name. I don't think he'd mind, but he's a researcher. And he was researching in an area that was known for pot growing, let's say, at a pot grower's place in the middle of nowhere. And
Let me guess, Humboldt. No, go ahead.
Yeah, you're psychic, just like me, Rob.
Yeah,
You're amazing. Oh my God. Okay, so we're talking, and he was telling me, and he showed me a picture of a big white feces, but it was white, but it was like a human, like. And I said, "Okay, I'm going to be psychic here. There's a pond on the property, and there's crappie in it, crappie fish." And he goes,
"Yeah.
How in the frick did you know that?" I said, because if you eat crappie, it can make if you eat too much crappie, you can turn your feces white. Because I've noticed this in wolves and other animals. Okay. And so I knew there was a pond, because you can't have crappie without a pond.
For sure.
So I guessed both of those, and it freaked him out. That there was a pond and crappies in the pond stocked.
Well, the pond thing I can go with now. Of course, I would not known about the crappie, so I just learned something new today. But yeah,
me too. I didn't know that either.
So, but yeah, you put 2 and 2 together because you know what you know about that, and yeah, it makes absolute sense. See, that's where your investigative skills came in as a PI for those.
Oh
20
my God!
years.
I got to tell you one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just one dumb PI story.
Well, this channel's all about stories, so please.
Okay. Yep. My first case, right? And I'm nervous. I'm going to fail at this new job. I'm not going to do good, blah, blah, blah. But, you get an idea of the way I think. I try to go after the obvious. So I go up to the top floor of this office building. They have the whole top floor of this agency. I get my case assigned to me, and it's a pretty simple case. It's basically first case was a case of welfare fraud, right? They were claiming, this person was claiming they were unemployed. They were drawing, checks, unemployment checks. And the state knew he was working, but didn't know where he was working and didn't know all this stuff. And so my job was to prove he was working, what he made. And I had to film him 3 times going in and out of work. Okay. All right. I'll see what I can do. But we don't know. We know where he lives, but we don't know anything else. So I get in the elevator. I grab my cell phone, which is my flip phone, and I called directory, got a hold of his number, called there, and said I was basically a job recruiter. Offered to pay a whole bunch of money. Obviously, some woman answered. I assumed it was his girlfriend. And I played on her greed. And I said, "Oh, yeah. Did your, so-and-so, is he a machinist, this and that?" And yeah. And, so, well, I've got this limited thing. And it was this huge amount of money back then. But he's only got so long to do it. And I said, "Well, how long has he worked there?" She tells me. "Well, where does he work?" She tells me. I played on her greed. By the time I got to the bottom of the elevator, I'm in the lobby. I called my boss and gave him all of the info he had wanted. He goes, "How in the hell did you do that?" And I said, "Trade secret." And I left. And the next step, of course, was just to follow him to work and get him, because I obviously even knew where he worked, what he made. And then I ended up getting a tour of the company, posed as a buyer, and got footage of him even working in the plant, and got him to tell me what a great job he does and how long he's been there. I gave all that to the state, and of course they arrest him.
Wow.
But that was my first case, and I did hundreds of them, and always successful. And so I always felt I had a good knack for it, but just psychic. It's all obvious. These things are all freaking obvious. It was obvious how to solve that case. It wasn't rocket science. It didn't take a genius. I was not a genius. I'm not bragging about how I did that. It was completely stupid, and I can't believe they didn't just do that. Play on someone's greed.
You know,
Right.
and I think, first of all, I want to thank Poncho, Zorch, and Beacon for your awesome super chats tonight. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Beacon says, thank you, Doug, for sharing your perspectives with all of us. And then, so thanks, Beacon. And
no, it's great. You've got a great audience there, Rob.
Yeah.
I have one of the best out
The
there.
best.
They're very
Well, it's
knowledgeable.
because you're psychic.
I can pick them. I kind of, I can bring them. I can manifest them as well. That's
You're
another skill I have.
manifesting. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
I literally, chat is going by so quick. I
Yeah.
didn't see it moving. For some reason, my chat's not automatic tonight. But oh my God, I had no idea there were that many comments.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
I'm finally caught up. I'm looking at the bottom there. I see JoJo said, "Ha ha, Doug." Yep, I'm caught up now.
You've got a lot of good feedback in this show.
Yeah. You have a lot of fans out there in our chat tonight.
Well, that's good. There's Patty. Patty says, "Tell Alex hi." I will, Patty. I'll do that on Wednesday.
So
Yeah,
I know,
it's fun.
like with the MonsterQuest, you do all kinds of these different creatures. Do you believe in all of these creatures? I'm talking like maybe like Gugways, Dogmen,
I'm humbled. Because I remember I was supposed to they wanted me to do Mothman for History Channel. And I thought about that whole thing and I reread everything and there really wasn't any physical evidence. There was no science I could do.
Gotcha.
There was just nothing I could do. And I kind of did a pushback because I always like to do some science. What can we learn? There was really nothing but eyewitnesses. But then, the more I thought about it, well, I'll keep an open mind. Well, one day, me and Yvette were driving back on the other side of Minnesota. We're on the eastern side now versus the western side. Driving south on 35W near Moose Lake, Minnesota. And it's full moon night, beautiful weather, everything's fine. And we see something drop down out of the sky, just drop straight down like a spider on a web. Does that make sense?
Right.
A spider will just drop on its web and then just stop abruptly, real abrupt. That's what this thing did. And we're like, what are we looking at? And I'm driving. And now we're paying attention, and the thing just went right for my windshield. So it dropped down, stopped, and then it flew. It got close, and all we can say is what we saw looked like a gargoyle.
Wow.
Or a Mothman with huge wings as wide as the freeway, and came right to my windshield, scared the living daylights. She ducked, and then eventually even I ducked, driving, which is like real brilliant, right?
Wow.
I did that because it looked like it was coming right through the windshield. But we both got a good look at it. That was life-changing for me because it scared her enough that she's afraid now to even go in the daytime in the woods.
Wow.
Or even take a drive at night anywhere it's wooded. So we have still, she's getting a little better, but it's caused problems with PTSD.
I could see where that could be.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally understand. I get it. But so I'm not like, oh, that was really great that happened. But what it did for me was to humble me. And that's what it did. Right. I did end up doing the Mothman, found other witnesses, and got creative and came up with some science ideas.
Yeah. Somebody in chat asked, John Lamb Jr. asked, did it have glowing eyes?
Nope. There were no glowing eyes, just blacker than black. And it was a full moon night. And my headlights, it came so low. It came into the beams of my headlights. And I can only describe it as having like glossy wings, shiny skin, like stretched skin, like bat wings. Yeah. But it was no bat. It was no owl. It was no crane.
How big would you say it is?
Wings were about as wide as 2 lanes on the freeway.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I didn't measure it, but that's how big it looked. Yeah, it was far bigger than my car.
Yeah.
Wow. People go, well, that's bull crap. You're the MonsterQuest guy. Oh, yeah, right. Sure, yeah. You saw Mothman. Yeah, right. No, we did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it wasn't a good thing.
Yeah.
It really wasn't.
I think
But
once you're open to something, you know, be it ghosts, UFOs, you know, Bigfoot, any of that, I think your odds of seeing them are more, you know, more enhanced. Where hence, like, you know,
was it luck, KRISTA, or was it
right?
Just, you know, done on purpose?
Right.
Because I was doing MonsterQuest.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the energy going out to the universe? Oh, really, Hajicek? You don't want to do Mothman? Oh, really? Oh, okay. Watch this.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we're dealing with. You know, I don't know.
We have a comment from somebody. Was it a pterodactyl? Possibly.
It could have been, but, you know, I saw the head, and it was just a human-sized head. Seemed like it had kind of pointed ears.
Wow.
But could it have been? Maybe my mind made up the face. You know what I mean? That's possible. We know we saw a big winged creature that swooped it directly at my windshield.
Wow.
Beyond that, yeah, I could be mistaken and could have been a pterodactyl. Which pterodactyls and some of these prehistoric creatures could just be time glitches.
Yeah.
You know, and if the dimensional the dimensions are as close as they say they are, then maybe things can get a little mixed up now and then, you know,
go from one to the other.
And so, yeah, who knows? We were I was talking about it on my show on Untold Radio AM. We were in line at a fast food restaurant and we're hearing a car wash buzzer go off. And we heard the dryers turning on and the whole car wash gamut thing. Like it was right next door to us. The nearest car wash is like 10 miles up the road. And we're like, what in the world? Why are we hearing this? There's no car wash there. It's just this one building. And we went and parked, then we never heard it again. We heard it a whole bunch of times. The buzzer, the dryers turning on, and it was a car wash. It was you hear the water going. And then I thought to myself, well, maybe there's going to be a car wash here in the future. Or maybe, in the future. So I'm going to keep my eye on that. Because there are some empty lots near there. In fact, when we parked and ate our food, there's an empty lot right there. Be a perfect place for a car wash. Isn't that interesting? I don't know. I'm just throwing, you know, that's the way I think. Anyhow.
I've got similar accounts that I've experienced myself. What I find fascinating, I don't want to get into that at this moment, is about this time glitch and like time travel and teleportation. So which is a time glitch for those that don't know, like when I think about time travel, like that's the past or the future, but is a time glitch an opening of the past where we get a glimpse of it? And is that with certain parallel lines intercede or opposite lines succeed?
I think it's past and future. Me and my daughter were downstairs playing ping pong one day, and we heard Yvette come home, pull out the pots and pans, clear as day, banging, you know, refrigerator opening, closing, drawers opening and closing, utensils. We just figured she's making dinner or whatever. And so we yell, hi, you know, we'll go up the stairs and we'll be up in a minute. And there was no answer. My daughter immediately just like freaked. She just went from happy, fun to literally tears running out of her eyes. Because it was her first experience of going, something's wrong here. We heard, it was Yvette. We heard the patterns of her just doing normal things from either the past or the future. And you know, for some reason, I've had a number of those things, you know, maybe almost 10 of those kind of glitch things.
Wow.
So I wouldn't say it wasn't a ghost. It was just her. And people should pay attention to those things because I think a lot more of us experience glitches, but we blow them off. We don't notice them, like the car wash thing, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm really good at noticing little things. Other people probably wouldn't have paid any attention to that buzzer and that water sound and the, you know, why? We're in the city. Why would anybody pay attention to that? But I knew it was out of place. So people need to be observant of, you know, then they'll probably notice some things. Another story real quick. I went up with a family reunion with my same daughter. And we check into our hotel room And then we start walking down the hallway, and the elevator door opens, and a family comes walking out. Very distinct people, distinct hairdos, everything, and clothing. And they walk out towards us. We get in the elevator opens. They walk out. We get in the elevator. We go down. We go out the hotel door right away, and here comes that same family walking towards the hotel. And my daughter looked at me and goes, "Glitch."
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, most people would just throw that in their gray basket, and they probably wouldn't even remember it the next day.
Yeah.
I do.
Yes. And be kind, really quick. Thanks, Doug, for sharing that experience with a vet. You just validated 3 different experiences I had.
Oh, great. That's awesome, because that's kind of what these podcasts do. They really help people a lot. They help us all connect dots.
Yes, it does.
That's what we're doing. You know,
Doug, I've said this ad nauseum. The only reason I have a channel is because of my Bigfoot encounter I had in 2018. And I'm not going to get into that. They've all heard it. I can tell you one day it was very traumatic for me. Extremely traumatic what I saw and what happened. In fact, as I've told most people, 2 months to the date of my encounter, my girlfriend died. And I had blamed it on this creature, right? Because exactly, my encounter was June 15th of 2018. My girlfriend died August 15th of 2018. We got hit with this blast. This thing morphed from a humanoid into a demon, as I always say. And we got hit with a blast. She flips off the boat, and 2 months later, she ends up dead. So that set me off on, first of all, set me off. Yeah, thanks. It set me in a bad place for a while. Then that's how I got into this field. And my purpose today is just to help people, because I had nowhere to go for a very long time.
Right.
Yeah, until I could find people I could trust. And I lucked out and found some people. And now I do this today, but I do that because of what happened to me. Having that feeling of emptiness, and you don't want to tell people to be judged, ridiculed. Right. You know, I owned a business at the time. I didn't even tell my manager I was leaving, taking a leave of absence. Didn't tell him why, because that's like, oh, Rob, you just want to take time off. No. Had nothing to do with that. What I saw was crazy, okay? And to this day, I still can't believe it happened. But yeah, so that's why I do this. And expressing these opinions, theories, ideas, it's how we all learn. That's why I love doing this. And so yeah, I appreciate all your stories. I really do.
Yeah, I just think a lot of us have things that we don't notice, or people don't want to talk about them. I ask everybody if I go to a party, man. It's like, well, whatever. Did anything weird happen to you? Start there. Usually, you can drag a story out from almost everybody.
You can.
There.
Start thinking, oh yeah, this happened. And, yeah, I remember when I was a kid, this happened. After I got married, that happened. You know, it's like everybody. You know, we're all kind of in the same boat. We all live in the same idea.
That's so true, because like I'm into all of the weirdness, and just since I've come out of the closet with it, and made it known for what we do and do the shows and stuff. I've had people that I've known my whole life tell me things like I had this happen to me, and another girl, I truly believe she had a dogman encounter, and just people they don't talk about it because they feel they don't have anywhere to turn. So again, like Rob said, that's why we do this.
We work our butt off just to doing these podcasts, but they're so satisfying when you just know you're helping people, and you're helping yourself too, because
and your show is good too, because I do listen to you, Doug. I do listen.
Yeah, I'm friends with Jason. I know Dr. Dean. In fact, he's gonna be on my show Thursday.
Oh, awesome.
Dr. Dean. I've been friends with Jason for a couple of years.
Yeah, isn't Dean's so amazing? He really is. He just, I don't know, guy's just a gem. But yeah, if anybody wants to, check our network out, it's Untold Radio Network. There's like 10 shows, and different shows, and you can pick. And I want to steal all of all of Rob's. Let's be honest. We want to steal all of Rob's.
Of course.
So that next week there's not one person in his chat.
No, yeah,
I'm joking.
I know.
I'm joking.
We'll drop the link. I will drop the link for that as well.
No doubt we share a lot of listeners, and
yes,
no doubt.
And that's such a good thing. And and I'm really enjoying talking to you guys. You're awesome.
Oh yeah, this has been great. Have you had any? You kind of talked about you and your daughter downstairs playing, but you don't think that was paranormal. Have you had any paranormal encounters that you know of?
Well, I think my first weird thing where I knew the world wasn't exactly like I was told was I was probably about 9, maybe 8. I'm building a car model in my bedroom.
Wow.
And then we didn't have any chairs. There were no desks in there. I was 3 brothers. I was sharing it with 2 other brothers. So there's three of us in this little bedroom when I grew up. No desk to build anything. So I'm on the floor and I'm building a car model. I'm terrible at it, getting glue everywhere, but I got to go to the bathroom. I just got to pee. So, and I'm sitting there holding it because I'm trying to fit these little parts together. I'm 8 years old. And all of a sudden I can't hold anymore. And I run to the bathroom. We have one bathroom in the home, one door on it. And of course it's shut. My luck. It's shut. So I knock on the door and I hear my man who I thought was my dad. So I'll be out in a minute. Give me a second. Do I hear the little click on the lock and the door opened up and there was nobody there.
Wow.
I then ran because there was nobody upstairs. I figured, I remembered they were downstairs. Everybody was downstairs measuring the basement. They were going to refinish it because it was an unfinished basement. And so my dad was down there with chalk and I fell down the stairway from panic. That was my first experience where I went,
yeah.
Oh, that was a big eye opener, and that changed my life at that point.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so I knew all that stuff. I heard the voice, the door click. It wasn't just seeing something out of the corner of your eye. I experienced hearing, seeing, and and it made me have to hold my pee.
Right.
So and I think at this point, probably in hindsight, now I think it probably was another time glitch I experienced back then.
Could be.
Maybe my first one.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was just it's such a weird thing. I'll tell you a creepy, spooky story. This one is probably paranormal. So I have 6 kids. My oldest son, I was babysitting him, if that's what you call it when dad takes care of the kid. Mom was out shopping.
Yeah.
So it's me and him, and he had a little a cork gun, with the string and you pump it.
Yep.
And he was then, of course, I'm the horse, and I'm on all my hands and knees on all fours. He's riding on it, and he's pretending he's hunting on horseback. He's basically pretending he's Roger Patterson, but he's got his, he's deer hunting or whatever, bear hunting. And there was a bear with that one eye had fallen off, a button eye had fallen off, was leaning against his bedroom wall. I think his aunt had bought it at a garage sale, gave it to him or whatever. And he just kind of went against the wall. And so we gallop up to that bear. And of course, I'm encouraging him to shoot this stuffed bear with his powerful cork gun. And he shoots it. And I said, "You missed." And of course, I galloped around, went into the kitchen. There's no way to go from his bedroom to the kitchen except the way I went. And there was the bear leaning against the washer in the kitchen.
Wow.
And that kind of was like, woof. Another one of those, like, what in the world? It even got Josh, even it freaked him out because he knew,
wow.
Like, what? And I took the bear, opened the door in the basement, threw him down, locked it, got up early in the morning, got the bear, took him to a printing company down the road, opened their dumpster and threw him in the dumpster. And now in hindsight, I don't think it had anything to do with the bear.
Yeah.
Right.
You think it was
bear? I thought the bear was haunted. I don't think that was it.
Wow. Wow.
So that's a creepy story. Some people think it's creepy.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's creepy aspects or elements to it. I see you've been starting a couple questions, Krista.
Yep.
Just a couple.
We can, let's see. Chad C asked, what does Doug think about the new findings with the Patty film?
I have no opinion until I see it.
Yeah.
I did talk to one of the people in the know today, had a conversation. I do know Bruce Maccabee because I've hired Bruce to do some optical stuff for not only Mysterious Encounters, but also MonsterQuest. So I'm familiar with Bruce. He is a pretty straight shooting guy, and apparently there could be, it is plausible that there could be, let's say 5 feet, 10 feet of film if they really truly have the roll that was in the camera, which has been missing.
Gotcha. And
there was Eric Beckjord did always claim he had it. So that's possible too. I knew about that.
Right.
I had run-ins with Eric Beckjord way back, and they weren't good run-ins. He was kind of he had a little bit of a stalker mentality, but and he'd write crazy emails to me. But he always said he had the original Patterson footage, and of course other people said there's no way he does. But then I talked to somebody else. Patricia said, well, maybe he did get it, and I just didn't get it back from him. Right. I borrowed it to him. And so, so it is plausible at the end of the footage that there could be a baby at the very tail end, but tiny. In other words, nobody would have seen it.
Gotcha.
But with today's technology, we can blow it up, clean it, do grain nullification. So maybe, it's the whole thing's plausible, but I reserve, what's the old saying? I remain skeptical.
Right. Understand that.
Until I see it with my own eyes.
Yep.
And then, like I said, it is plausible because of all the things I know. And I do know, like that hernia on the leg that I discovered, nobody had ever seen it. 50 years had gone by, nobody ever saw it. How is that possible? Because they're looking at something else. They're all looking at the face. So I could see like the original film going to the developer. I'm just saying, giving you one scenario. Goes to the developer. And let's say it's a kid running the soup, right? So he develops the film, and then they want copies. So he runs a copy, and he doesn't do a good job. And he thinks, oh, that's good enough. He doesn't want to, get to the end of the film when it's going flop, 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 flop. So he just stops it short. Let's say there's only 3 feet. Patty's walking away. In fact, I've gotten more information out of that last little bit where I can see the back of her completely, and I can see her feet twisting and her legs rotating around, which is where I came up with the mountain gate, the way they walk with this strange rotating hips and legs where they put one foot in front of the other, but to see it from the rear was very exciting. But nobody paid attention to that really either. Grover Krantz talked about how it had compliant gait, bent knees. But I was the one going, no. There's a lot more going on than just bent knees. Sure. There's also this hip rotation and these legs that go one in front of the other, but they splay sideways before they end up straightening. So it's kind of like, how do I describe it? They basically walleye in and out like this. So it's very weird looking from the back. So, but nobody studied that part of the film. Well, that's where the baby's supposed to be. Right where it cuts off now, a little bit farther past that. And maybe, someone could watch it go, oh, it's just a film piece of dust on the film.
Yeah.
So, but Bruce is an optical engineer. So, let's give him the credit. At least we'll give Bruce credit, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And his wife, I believe her name is Pamela. And I have not seen anything, but I'm excited to ever get the chance to. I hope it's real because I've been saying for years, Patty did not walk out in the open for no reason. She could have just turned left, went right into the forest and escaped.
Yeah.
She walked. And that was one of the reasons all the skeptics too went, oh, come on. If that's a wild, creature, it's going to not be walking out in the open like that. That's not normal behavior. Well, it would be if you were trying to lead a couple of cowboys away from your family.
Sure. Absolutely.
So it's once again, all plausible, guys.
Yep.
Yeah. Next question.
Hopefully, Chad, that answered your question.
Yeah. Next question is Cool Hand. He says, did it have a humanoid shaped body? And I believe it was when you were talking about the Mothman.
Yes. From what I could see, it looked like its arms became the wings and it had a body like a human. Mm-hmm. But I only kind of saw it from the front. It was gliding towards me at a quick rate of speed. Mm-hmm. Also, never saw it flap its wings, ever.
Gotcha.
And so it defied physics. It came straight down and then headed right for the windshield. That's you can't drop.
That's crazy.
Straight down with your wings out.
Sure.
That defies physics. See.
Right. Yeah.
You'd have to glide at an angle. It didn't come at an angle. Straight down, stop at the car.
Boom, like a 90, right? Like
at
boom,
90,
boom.
Yes.
Yeah.
90 degrees.
Yeah.
So that would suggest it doesn't need its wings.
Yeah.
And they're all show. No go.
Right. Iron asked you, Doug, have you noticed any efforts to silence your work with MonsterQuest? Network telling you no, wanting edits, etc.
Nope. No. And I can honestly say that. In fact, the opposite. Mm-hmm. If I had some fantastic finding or whatever, and I'd still talk to them. And I don't ever feel, not from them. If I ever got silenced, it was my own feeling, people are going to buy that, somebody might say something really outlandish or something.
Sure.
So I would police myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think, I never was policed by History Channel at all. Not at all. I mean, look at the shows they like, that they're producing, the Skinwalker Ranch. And,
Yeah,
I would say history has an agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
I was going
there.
And I was going to ask you too on the part of the business side, I guess you have a little insight into this. I think personally, and I'm not going to mention any shows whatsoever. It's neither here nor there, but I'm sure there are certain producers or directors that have you add things into a show for ratings, whether it's a wood knock or a shadow. Do you think though, for people that are very honest about their craft, it kind of detriments a lot of these shows? I mean, you can go on and find 50,000 ghost hunter shows.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. I mean, KRISTA knows the good ones.
There's a bunch.
And MonsterQuest was always a favorite of mine. Growing up, it was, of course, with Leonard Nimoy. That was a great show from what I remember.
By the way, I tried to get Leonard Nimoy to narrate MonsterQuest.
Oh.
I actually talked to him one time.
Wow.
He was pretty short with me, and he just said, I don't want to work anymore.
Can't blame him.
Pretty short conversation.
Yeah.
But I tried. I did try.
You tried.
So you think that hinders though? I mean, it's kind of an obvious question,
well,
but
sure.
I don't know.
It's once again, you can kind of tell. Mm-hmm. I can tell you with Mysterious Encounters, MonsterQuest, nothing was ever faked. I mean, it was either happened or it didn't.
Yeah.
MonsterQuest, same way. I can't speak for any of these other shows.
Yeah.
I'm not present.
Mm-hmm.
I can kind of tell probably Mountain Monsters is fake, like
I would agree with you.
You catch a Bigfoot in a trap every week. Every week it escapes.
And he always manages to escape.
Once again, I'm psychic, but I'm gonna kind of go on a limb and say it's fake.
It's going to escape, but the 9:58
By the end of the show, the monster will get out of the cage.
Oh yeah.
Somebody's going to be attacked and come back in a trance. Then he snaps out of it.
Well, it's basically they're following the perils of Pauline. Mm-hmm. With the girl, the maiden tied to the railroad tracks, and here comes the train, and it's at the last second the ropes get cut. She escapes.
I will tell you this about this show. I've watched it because if I want a good laugh,
there you go.
So it caught it caught an audience. It grabbed a market, right?
It's the world of wrestling Bigfoot show.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's entertaining.
Yeah,
and no doubt those guys are interested in the topic, and God bless them. Are they still doing that show?
I really don't know.
don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't really go out of my way to find it. I might have seen like a season 2 from 2020 or something. It's they're just, but they get that syndication money. Now they're syndicated. Now they're all, making their royalty check every quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I see that they appear at a lot of conferences and speak too. So
Yeah. I mean, they are funny guys. I mean,
they are.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, what can go wrong? 3 big guys with beards in the woods. Nothing.
yeah, right.
With guns.
With
guns,
shotguns.
and cages.
And cages.
Yeah. What
Right.
can go wrong?
And they got the world's trapper, the best trapper or builder of traps. And don't tell me it takes them like overnight to dig out 8 feet by 12 feet pit, cover it with bamboo, which isn't in that part of the forest.
Yeah.
Right.
But I've never heard of any evidence that Expedition Bigfoot or any of these shows fake anything. But I'm not there.
Yeah.
Right.
But those shows have all popularized the topic.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Gets more people out in the woods, and if all that happens is people just get out in the woods, because if you don't appreciate the woods, we're gonna lose them. It's like that's one reason hunting is good. It gets people out in the woods, and if you're out in the woods, you're gonna care about animals. If you're gonna care about animals, you're gonna do what you can to manage them and protect them. If nobody hunted, we wouldn't be managing our animals, and we'd be back in the 60s where when you saw a deer, it made the paper because it was so rare.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, I just drive in a car down the road. I'll find one. My brother goes hunting. Takes him a day or two to find one.
Yeah. So I don't even know. I don't know what era you guys are from, but you look like kids to me. So there you go.
Yeah. I'm in southern Michigan. I'm in southeast Detroit almost. I'm 20 minutes from Detroit.
So you're not in the upper.
I'm not in the upper. No. That would be I couldn't live there in the winter time. Could not.
Yeah.
So what's the nearest town to you, Rob?
Well, the nearest town. Well, the suburbs are right. I mean, Detroit. Actually, the city of downtown Detroit's 25-minute ride.
Okay.
But I'm close to the closest forest, though. For me, I got to go 2.5 hours northwest before I get anything good. Now there's a forest around the airport or off the freeway, but I don't really count that as a forest.
Yeah.
My encounter was in the Manistee National Forest in Wexford County in Cadillac, Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Which in my state, Wexford County is the alleged capital for dogman sightings, and have had a handful of Bigfoot sightings as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another phenomenon like the Mothman that I don't see why people would lie. I'm not lying about what we saw. I don't know what label you want to put on it. I don't give a crap.
No.
You can call it a UFO we saw. You can call it a pterodactyl, a gargoyle, a Mothman. I don't give a crap.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. All I know is it definitely knew what we were because it took a dive at our car.
Wow.
It seemed like
that's
no other
creepy,
reason
man.
but to scare us. It's like it wanted to scare us. And that's kind of creepy to me.
That is creepy.
Yeah.
One thing that brought me back to about 8-9 years ago, a friend of mine is at his kitchen window. Now, this isn't a cryptid. This is an actual hawk, I believe. But it was the wife just had her baby, maybe under a year old, at a big bay window. And there are hawks, believe it or not, to circle around where I live. And I see this hawk. We're inside like the house, the bay window. I'm looking, beautiful blue sky, big old massive hawk, one of the biggest ones I've seen. And all of a sudden, Doug, everyone listening, it beeline, not on a 90. It was natural, came down, but it tucked the wings, and then it came right up to that window and stopped, opened its wings, and it looked, I swear, it looked at that baby like you wanted it. That's right. And I'm like, and I was taken aback. I mean, I knew exactly what it was, but it's scared. I thought it was going to go through this window.
Jeez.
And it's like, whoa. So when you were telling that story, I said, man, it reminds me of the hawk and the baby, or my girlfriend or ex-girl or my friend. Yeah. So, yeah.
That sounds like a book, Rob.
Yeah.
The hawk and the baby. And it comes back.
A
then
movie.
it finds the baby, sweeps it away, and it teaches it the wilds of the hawk.
It's the movie of the week.
Well, you could turn my encounter story into a movie. I tell you that.
No.
I'll have to tell you that one day.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get you on our show.
Okay.
And we gotta
Sounds good.
We'll keep the conversation going.
Very good. I appreciate
his encounter is quite a frightening one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah.
Well, if it's anything like having your car dive bombed by some weird winged creature, it's life changing. I mean, I swear my head's on a swivel now at night because I'm thinking, well, what if I didn't have a car to protect me? What if I was out walking? I don't want to be hit from the back, from some wing.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you this. I'm not going to tell you. I know I'm not going to tell you my story, but I will say this. I'm lucky I was on a boat 90 feet outside of this thing because I don't feel I'd be here today if I was on land.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, we live in the craziest. I mean, this earth is just so amazing. It's crazy, amazing.
Sure is.
And I hope everybody appreciates the amusement park that we all live in because it's a wild ride. If you're paying attention, it's crazy.
Oh yeah.
So
for sure. For sure.
Doug, it's coming up on our time here. I just want to thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah,
I want to thank everybody for coming and chat. This was a fantastic show. Once again, thank you to Be Kind and thank you to Poncho for the super chats. Most appreciated. And Doug, and we can find. I'll give me send me the link later, and I'll put it in this video for people can go subscribe to you.
Yeah,
and it's Untold Radio AM.
Yes, correct? Untold Radio AM. It's Untold Radio Network is our, the whole network on YouTube. But yeah, we're a podcast on anywhere podcasts are found. But we have a YouTube channel, and we're adding new shows. We added Discover Sasquatch, where that new Patterson footage was announced, and that's a Chris Reinhardt show that's going to be on every week now. So that was new stuff happening. So
yeah, I will do this for you. Yes, my buddy. This woman. I love Sibylla Irwin. She did a sketch of my Bigfoot, Doug, and I did 2 shows on it, in which Sibylla was on, and I'll have to show you that.
Yeah, and Sibylla, I know you're listening. I'm going to call you tomorrow.
Oh, there we go.
I tried to today, but I didn't have time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So thanks, Sibylla.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She is.
But I mean, this whole mystery is just ever giving, and it's definitely one of the biggest mysteries in the world. So,
sure is.
It is. It is, and that's why for me, it started out bittersweet. I don't have any grudge anymore against cryptids. But again, that's how I started. And I got to tell you what, Doug, and everyone listening, I love doing this. So it's the mystery that to me is never ending. And if it's never ending, we're all going to be doing this for a while, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to solve. Even if we prove their existence, that's just the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just the start. The bigger challenges are going to be in the future.
Sure.
So anyhow, well, with that, I'm going to sign off and
we are
hard out, and we'll talk soon. Good meeting you.
Yeah, we'll talk soon.
Rob,
thank you, everybody.
You, KRISTA.
It was great to meet you. Thank you.
And thanks, audience, for all the great comments. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Bye, guys.
All right, bye-bye.
See ya.
All right, bye-bye.